I think Josh was going to kick us off, but I can if you just want to assign one of us in there.
What's that, Josh?
As you're figuring that out, I thought we kind of got a small group here, so I thought it might be good just to do quick intros. So I'm Josh Thurman. I run developer relations for Ufizi, and I know Damien has experience with us. But as you guys go around, if you've like experienced the Ufizi app platform, please say that, or at least if you have an intro, have been introduced to us, that'll be helpful too. So I don't want to just do a whole intro again. We can dive right into the meat of it. But I guess we can just go. I don't know if you guys are seeing it in the same order, but Damien, if you want to go next.
Okay, sure. Yeah, right now I'm freelance graphic designer, web designer, whatever I can do to bring in income to my family. But yeah, so my goal is to be a web developer. So yes, I do have some Ufizi experience, messed around with a little bit early on. What was that, September?
Last fall, yeah.
Sometime?
Yeah.
So yeah, I've got a little
Damien
bit.
was one of our first users, so
nice.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
No problem. Grayson, I guess you want to.
Yeah, I'm Grayson. I'm the head of our product team, and and I'm going to present today. So I don't want to spoil too much.
Okay. Yeah. True. Yeah. All right.
But in a past life, when I did more development work, so my background's in machine learning mostly, and from a tech stack standpoint, a lot of Python, Java, C++.
Yeah.
A little bit of web development, not a ton of web development, but I'm
hardcore stuff.
PHP, some Perl,
Uh-oh.
We'll dabble here and there.
Nice.
So yeah, anyway, it's a little bit about me.
Rob, do you want to say something?
Yeah. Hey, I'm Rob. I work for an event ticketing company, not Eventbrite. It's a small ticketing company out in the Smyrna area, and I've worked there for a long time, and I'm doing contract work for them right now. So, and it's been great. I was there full time for a while, and I'm contract now, which is both good and bad. There's some benefits to being contract, and there's obviously some downsides, but yeah, it's been overall a pretty good experience.
Cool. Very nice. Good to see you. Adam, you want to say something?
Hi, I'm Adam. I'm in East Nashville, and I've been a professional systems administrator since 2006. And I designed most of the back end for Ufizi.
Oh, cool. Very nice. Nice to have you.
Yeah.
Hans, say a few words.
Yeah. Hi, guys. I'm Hans, or Christian, too. That's usually what people call me.
Okay.
JavaScript is what I usually work with. Full stack development is what I'm looking to get into, and in the job market right now, interested in either front end or full stack. Really anything with like web development, software development. I'm enjoying it. So.
Good deal.
Very cool. Grayson, I think I just have to make you the host, so I did that.
I think you're gonna notice that I was. So
okay.
Yep, looks like it. Awesome. Josh, any other words, or I can hop in?
Yeah. So quick intro. So Damien, I know you've deployed on the app platform, and hopefully it was a good experience for you. We're excited about rolling out it's really the same type of experience, but in a different format. So we've had the app platform out for a while. Now we're looking to get into enterprises. And so we're offering our app platform running on top of Kubernetes. So whether you're Kubernetes on-prem or in the cloud, doesn't matter. You can get the same great developer experience that we offer through Ufizi at your organization. And we're really solving two big problems. The first is, technical expertise. There's challenges that come with deploying onto Kubernetes, understanding Kubernetes concepts, and dealing with, sometimes 1,000 line YAML files. That's the technical problem we're solving. And the process problem that we're solving is, everyone develops, and in the context of a team, most people developing locally, and then at some point they've got to push it up to some type of environment that you've got running, and then either you're QAing it yourself, or you have a QA, or maybe a product manager, or maybe the marketing team needs to review that before you can push it further up the process, usually in promoting into staging before it goes to production, right? So we are accelerating that process by providing a software tool that that enables you to rapidly do that, right? So I can work in a GitHub first workflow. If I'm a developer, I git push my new feature branch, and a minute or two later, I've got a live HTTPS URL that I can review myself and ask others to review. And boom, when it's done, now I'm going to put my pull request in. So we're really working on expediting that process, which make your dev team that much more effective. So excuse me, I'm getting over a cough. So that's where we're going here. We're kind of tentatively calling this Ufizi Pro, but if you guys check out our marketing site, then here you can read more about it. But with that, I'll hand it over to Grayson, who's going to dive a little deeper.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, thanks for having us. To add on to what Josh is saying, Ufizi, we're a cloud platform, but specifically a platform as a service. So we really specialize in curating a lot of different cloud services and making them really, wrapping them in a really easy to use interface, and solving a lot of the challenges that both individual developers and companies and organizations struggle with, which is not just like getting the code to the cloud, but doing it in a way that's reliable, scalable, and secure. And so there's a lot of ways to skin a cat, and they're not always all the correct ways. And one thing that we found is that through automation, you can really eliminate a lot of security vulnerabilities, bugs, and just general errors across the board. I think something like 64% of cloud errors or misconfigurations are caused by human error. And 99% of them will go undetected. And so automation is not just about simplicity and ease of use, but also about making sure that you're set up for success and in a secure and scalable way. So reliability means just that when you visit your app or visit a website, that it's going to be there and it's going to be working as expected. Scalability, of course, is around, hey, my application, it has increased let's say an uptick in user traffic. You want that application to be responding and be responsive to that, maybe a large flux of users. And so configuring your cloud infrastructure to elastically expand and contract based on that sort of peak usage is an important factor, and something that not everybody knows how to manually set up. And so that's something that platforms like Ufizi do a really good job of automating for you. And then finally, it's around security. Again, those points around, if you automate a lot of this and take the human out of the tedious steps, you can really reduce your attack vector and make your application and infrastructure more secure. So that's what Ufizi, I think, how we're different from maybe an Amazon Web Services or a Google Cloud or Azure, sort of these large, big platforms where they give you all the tools to do this, but it's really dependent on you to configure everything yourself. There's a lot of documentation and training that goes into doing it, doing it well in practice. And so platforms like Ufizi really are an easy button for a lot of those configurations. I'm going to share my screen here and show you kind of, for those who aren't familiar with it, show you the platform Ufizi and how we think about getting your code off your laptop or off GitHub and in the cloud, in a simple way. And then we'll talk a little bit about what Josh alluded to, which is our pro offering and how you might be able to get this platform on your own cloud for your own company, for example. I'm going to collapse this here. So I'm going to start with a simple application. This is a MERN stack app. So this is a Mongo Express, React, and Node.js application. It's a simple employee tracker where you can input data, name, and company and position into the application, and it saves it in a MongoDB NoSQL database hosted here at Atlas. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to work backwards, show you how we got here and how simple it is to get something like this deployed with Ufizi. So here's the application running inside Ufizi. You can see this is the the GitHub repo, and I can pop over here to GitHub and show you that. If I go here, if I go over here, this is my Mern app here. And this is the code that I've imported here. And this is it imported into Ufizi. You see the branch here is this master branch. We have continuous deployments option, which I'll talk about in demo here in a little bit, as well as some information about how this public IP and how to connect to this container, as well as an activity log over here. We do something where we auto detect and auto build your application. This means that we know that this is a React Node application, and then we will build with all the dependencies and all the requirements needed to build a Mern app without you having to define, for example, a Docker file or do any kind of manual build process. And all that is displayed here in the logs, which again, I'll show you how to set all this up in a second, but just kind of going through an overview of everything. And then finally, kind of in environment settings, here you can see you've got a default domain that Ufizi provides to you where your application is available. You can also set up HTTPS really simply. If you have a custom domain, let's example.com or something, we walk you through how to add that in here. You take the IP address of this cloud environment, plug it into your domain registrars, DNS records, and then just tell Ufizi about what that domain is that you want to add. And Ufizi will provision or request and manage a certificate for you. So you'll have secure encrypted communication to and from your application. So those are some examples of what I mean by really curating the and simplifying the cloud configuration process. You don't have to be creating certificates. You don't have to be setting up load balancers. You don't have to be provisioning static IP addresses, setting up auto scaling, and all these other functions that you normally would be a manual setup process in a standard cloud environment. So Ufizi out of the box has all those features built in. So to show you how we got here, let me go back to the home page and show how we just set something like this up. So when we start, we can just choose a environment size, 0.5 GB, and this is RAM. Is big enough for a lot of applications, most applications that we see. So that's where we default, but you can choose something larger here, and these can be adjusted later. We also have options for auto scaling and high availability. Auto scaling is what I referenced before. This is, let's say an uptick in user traffic. Your application needs to be able to expand, elastically increase its capacity to take on that increased demand. And so we do what's known as horizontal auto scaling. We actually will deploy multiple copies of your application, and then they will effectively, we'll keep creating copies, as many as you need, and then those copies will kind of be spun down when they're not needed. High availability is the concept of running the same application in multiple regions or zones. This means like 2 different data centers, for example, or 2 different logical or zones of a single data center that generally have their own redundant power and cooling and electrical systems. So that way, if there were any kind of catastrophic failure in part of a data center, you would still have a copy of your application running in another region or zone. So that makes it really it's a really premium feature, and it comes just with a simple click of a box here, so you can have that set up and ready to go for for applications that you want to ensure are always reliable. Again, another one of those things that Ufizi focuses on, reliability. So I'm going to choose here the small option, and then it takes us to our import and app step. Right now we have integrations with GitHub or Docker Hub. GitHub, of course, being source code. Docker Hub, you may or may not be familiar with containers and Docker, but these are pre-built application binaries or container images that Ufizi can pull from public Docker Hub or from your private Docker Hub account. So both those integrations are supported. For this example, I'm going to pull from GitHub, as I showed. We have our Mern stack app that I mentioned. And right now, so Ufizi, so I've already connected to my GitHub account. If I hadn't already connected, it would have asked me to authenticate with GitHub. If I hop over here, you can see the way we authenticate is with something known as a GitHub app. This is if you go to your settings here on GitHub, and then you scroll down to this Applications tab. That's where you find all your installed GitHub apps. As you can see here, Ufizi just needs read access to your code. We don't do any writing to your repos. And in this case, I've allowed Ufizi to look at all my repositories. However, you can select specific repositories that you want. So all that's configurable within GitHub. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm pulling in this repo as well as look at all the branches associated with this repo. There's only one here, but if there were multiple, you'd see them here. And then finally, there's this continuous deployments option. This is what I referenced earlier. This feature allows Ufizi to sit and watch. We set up what's known as a webhook on your repo, and we're watching for updates. So new commits to, for example, this master branch. If this feature is turned on and Ufizi notice that you push a new commit up to GitHub, what we'll do is it will actually trigger a new build and a new redeployment. So we'll pull that change in, we'll rebuild your application, again using auto detection, knowing what type of application you're trying to deploy, and we'll build that for you into a container image, and then we'll deploy that to Ufizi. Yeah, and then in the next step, you've got this configuration step, just specifying what the port number is and able to set the environment variables. As I mentioned, we're connecting to MongoDB. This is a database outside of Ufizi, so this is not provisioned from Ufizi. This is something I have running externally. Ufizi also support you connecting to not just MongoDB, but really any cloud resource, whether it be on AWS or Azure or anywhere. So you can connect things like Postgres, MySQL, Redis, S3 buckets, and whatever backing services your application may need. The way I'm going to connect to this cluster is Mongo, or Atlas and Mongo offer this connection string method, so you can connect your application using this string here. And I'm going to go ahead and copy that. It specifies the user, the password of the database, which I'll have to edit here, the cluster that I'm trying to connect to, and the name of the database, which in this case is just my first database. So I'm gonna copy that string, and we're gonna plug that into Ufizi over here, so that way my application, my front end, will be able to find this database. So this is MongoDB URI is the name, and we're using environment variables here to load these into the application at deployment time. So these will be available. I'm going to copy and paste this password in here. This is kind of a throwaway password I'll use. There we go. So now it's added, and you can see it's been added there, and I can go to the next step and finally review and deploy. And you can see that this is my environment I've just set up. It's small. Here's my app, and it's going to connect to that MongoDB database. So if I deploy it here, you're going to see it pending, and here in a second in this activity log, you'll see Ufizi reaching out to GitHub, pulling that code in, and starting a build process. And there we go. So now it's starting to build. When it says waiting here, it means that this application is not yet running. It's waiting for the build process to end. Again, if we drill down here into logs, you can see what's happening exactly. If there's ever any errors, this is a good place, and there's failed build, this is a good place to look as to what maybe went wrong. Talking a little bit more about how we build, we are looking for certain things in an application, and let me pop on over here to our support site. So this is support.ufizi.com. This shows all of our supported languages and frameworks, everything from ASP.NET Core and C#, so Microsoft stacks, as well as, of course, various other languages and frameworks, whether it be common stuff or some of the more less common stuff. We support a lot of it right now, as well as some static site generators. You may have heard of Next.js or Gatsby. We do recognize and support those as well. So this is a Node.js application, so I'm going to choose that option here and look about what the requirements are for those applications. In here, you see that Ufizi will detect this application as Node.js if we find a package.json or yarn.lock. And if you look here into our repo, you can see I do in fact have a package.json. And so that immediately will flag to Ufizi that this is likely a Node.js application. You know, some other information about how we decide how to build it. These things can be overwritten or specified using what's known as a proc file. And we, in addition to a proc file, we'll also respect other commands in here. For example, this one defines a build command where it CDs into a client directory and runs an npm install and run build command. So Ufizi will respect those directives in our build process. So that's what's happening behind the scenes right now as Ufizi tries to build it. It's analyzing the repo, building the code, and then we'll generate a container image and deploy that onto Ufizi's backend.
Yeah, so Damien, the last time you deployed, I don't know if we had this build feature. I think we were doing just Docker Hub. Is that?
Yeah, it was just Docker Hub.
Cool. What's your impression on this? Is this something that, yeah, do you like this feature?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, the GitHub thing I think would have been really nice when I was messing around with it. I was new to Docker Hub, so I think that slowed me down a little bit.
Yeah, we were still building at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, this looks like a cool feature for sure.
Yeah, the other big feature in addition to GitHub is the continuous deployments, which while this is building and deploying, let me hop on over to another environment I have. This is another Node.js application, just a Hello World app. As you can see here, there's several activity event, like log events. These logs, by the way, this is the repo. This is a commit ID, as well as a timestamp and the commit message. And I'm going to show you. I'm going to demonstrate this continuous deployments feature. So this is the application here. If I open this app up, I tore it down actually. So this feature is something I think is really cool, and it really speeds development up a lot. This is a simple Hello World app. All it is, if I hop over to code, all it is just displays Hello World to the screen. Really straightforward and simple. Let's see, this is up here. Yeah, there it is. So there's the app, Hello World, it's running. And let's say I want to, let's say it's pretend like this is a new feature I'm going to add, and I want to make changes here. One thing a lot of developers do is they do development work locally on their workstation. They test it locally, and then they don't actually deploy it to the cloud until, maybe it's they open a pull request or ready for it to be merged into an upstream branch, maybe a QA branch or a develop branch that they're sharing with their colleagues. But we think there's a lot of value in deploying code, even while you're testing. The problem is, most folks it just takes too much work and too much effort to deploy like every commit to the cloud. And so most folks just don't do it. With Ufizi, it makes it really simple to deploy every single commit to the cloud in a really seamless way, so that you're not just running, those, as you notice here, this is a public IP address, this is not running on localhost. It makes it really simple for us to check these additions or commits that we're pushing without any real effort. So to demonstrate that, let me show, let's say I've changed this from Hello World to Hello Grayson. And then I'm going to save that, I'm going to add that. Make sure everyone can see this, make sure it's big enough. There we go. Makes it look like I have a vision problem. It gets so big here, but hopefully everyone can see it. Git commit, I'm going to say hello Grayson. I'm going to say git push. And I'm going to push it up to this master branch. If we hop over here to this repo, this is again, it's a Hello World. There it is right there, first one. So you can see here, 20 seconds ago, I just pushed this change, hello Grayson, and that was you know, change made right here in this server.js. I'm sorry, in the routes. And there it is. There's hello Grayson. If I hop over to Ufizi, you can see that Ufizi has already kicked off this hello Grayson build, and it's rebuilding this application. So without me even like going back into Ufizi, it has already noticed that that commit happened. As I mentioned before, it's pulling those changes and rebuilding that application. So here in a second, once it's finished reading, what you'll see here is also hello Grayson. And we also do it in a downtime fashion. We don't take down the running healthy application until we know that the change, the new commit, is running and is healthy. And so that way your application is always live and available. So if somebody is actively using it or someone's testing on it or whatever, they're not interrupted during that process until we perform health checks, tear down that old one, and we promote the new one in its place. So anyway, all that's handled for you just automatically behind the scenes without any type of configuration or any knowledge of rolling updates or any other kind of like update strategy. And so it's still building, but here in a second, you should see that. So then we would be redeploying all those. Probably more likely what you're doing in the development of it, in the context of a development team at a company, is one person is probably checking out a new feature branch, working on that by themselves, and then maybe merging or opening a pull request to whether it be a master branch or some other type of I don't know if it would be a develop branch or whatever your company maybe uses.
Yeah, I was sort of thinking of the situation of like a staging server where each developer might have their own carved out area, so that they can kind of play with something that was closer to production but not production. But that's it.
Sorry, go ahead.
But then escalate it to actual production.
Yes, so that's a great segue actually to where we're going with the conversation. So instead of answering your question directly, I may show you kind of what we're working on, and maybe that'll answer it more fully than I can just in a few sentences.
It might be worth showing the marketing site real quick, because
that's where I was going. So Josh alluded to the fact earlier that we're excited about a new direction or a new product that we're rolling out with, which is Ufizi for Businesses, or Ufizi Pro. We want to give people the same app platform experience, but on their own cloud infrastructure. And this is something that we've talked to a lot of folks who are our users right now, and we've asked them, hey, what would stop you from using Ufizi for your small or medium-sized business? And invariably, we hear some of the same things. People love platforms like Ufizi, like Heroku, like Netlify, and some others out there, Firebase and others. But they have inherent limitations. One of the limitations really is around being a black box, not knowing how things work under the hood, and therefore not knowing how to troubleshoot or debug something very well. And another issue is generally around extensibility. That means, hey, I like what Ufizi offers, but my company needs feature X or feature Y, or we need to be able to plug in this other thing that we already use. And the third thing we often hear is around, price. And it's like, hey, platforms are expensive. I'm paying more than what the raw, compute costs are, and or maybe it's like, hey, I have free credits from AWS, or I'm in the startup program at Google Cloud, and like they're giving me free credits. I want to be able to use those. I can't use those on Ufizi or Heroku or wherever. So we really put our thinking caps on it and thought about like, hey, how do we offer people the Ufizi experience, but like solve all those, all those limitation hurdles. And so Ufizi Pro or Ufizi Business is what was kind of born out of that. And so what we're doing is we're allowing you to install Ufizi on your own cloud infrastructure. And that gives you the Ufizi experience with also some bells and whistles that we're adding to it. So the way I'll go into the architecture after this, but let me show you kind of where we're going and to answer your question about you know, how you do this development in the context, you know, of a team and branching strategy and that type of thing. So we're talking about this develop, preview, stage, promote cycle. And so the develop stage is, as you might expect, folks are developing their features locally, and then they push commits to their team's, you know, remote repositories, for example, on GitHub. Previews are what we're calling the continuous deployment feature that I just highlighted, how we can just get push and the new previews available. So you can preview, you can do previews of every commit. Ufizi, again, will auto detect and auto build your application from source, and then it'll deploy your application to a cluster. And in this case, you know, we're Kubernetes specific, so it'll deploy it to the cluster that you choose, and it'll generate a custom subdomain where your preview is available. So to answer your question more directly, if multiple people are all collaborating on a single repo, but maybe they're working on separate branches, Ufizi would support being able to build simultaneously, for example, build multiple images from those different commits and deploy each of those versions to a single cloud environment. And not only are we deploying them, but as you can see here in this, zoom in here. As you can see here, we're actually generating a custom or a unique URL per commit. So if your feature, you know, if you have a feature branch called example feature 319, you know, at exampleapp.com, Ufizi will automatically configure all the networking for you, deploy that application, and then that new feature that you're working on is available at this public URL. So that means that if you're using a tool like Jira or GitHub Issues or some other ticket tracking service, that means you can take that URL, you know, and paste it in, for example, into a Jira ticket. That way that your engineering manager or your product head or QA person or whoever maybe needing to review that commit has an easily shareable link to it, and they can review. And so really make it easy for you to iterate quickly and also track changes as they move through your development, you know, pipeline.
So, Rob, I think you're asking about, you know, yes, each developer can effectively deploy, right? Like everyone will have that capability. And like the way we recommend setting it up is you would have a develop cluster, a staging cluster, and a production cluster. That's not how everyone operates or how you have to. You could just have a development cluster and then a production. But you're right, it's allowing, let's say you've got 5 developers on your team, all of them can deploy their features, right, into a safe environment that your sysadmin is not worried about, right? Because it's boxed off, it's segregated. And then whoever that your DevOps rep or your sysadmin who handles production, you know, takes the final version, right, and then puts it into production. But does that answer your question? And do you have any other follow-ups?
I don't think so. I think the preview is pretty close to what I was looking for or what I was thinking of at the time.
Gotcha.
I bumped into the situation earlier today where it was like, I wanted to show something, but there wasn't like an easy way. Like sometimes we'll use that tool ngrok to show stuff like just like immediately without having to go through all the, you know, rigmarole. But I just was curious how it worked with Ufizi.
Gotcha.
But I think the preview branches would work for what I was thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, we can chat some more to it and get some more info maybe after, you know.
It sounds like that's very similar to the Netlify version of.
Yeah, it is very much, and to be frank, it's very much inspired by that. You know, one of the big, so again, to what I mentioned earlier, it's like a lot of people love platforms like Netlify, but they have some limitations, and one of their big ones is, you know, no support for backend applications, so no kind of Node.js or Ruby on Rails or, you know, any kind of support like that. Whereas, you know, Ufizi, we're a full stack supported platform, so front ends, back ends, static sites, APIs, you know, whatever, a database, you know, connect to a database and all that. You know, giving people that like deploy preview functionality, but like across their entire application stack is really what we're going for.
Yeah, I've played with Netlify, but I agree with you. It feels like a pretty big lift from where we currently are to where we would need to be able to use Netlify. So I can see doing that for greenfield applications, but not what we currently have anyway.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Does your company use, do you know anything about the cloud infrastructure your company uses, whether it's virtual machines or Kubernetes or?
Yeah, we basically host on instances behind a load balancer right now. It's nothing super complicated. I've personally looked at Kubernetes like briefly, but not enough to, like, I think our next step might be something like a Elastic Beanstalk, because we're on AWS.
Yeah. Yeah, so
they're not containers, are they? I think they're
Beanstalk, that's a good question. They may be implemented as VMs. They also have ECS, which is, I think, sort of similar, but it's container focused.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to tell with AWS. We got so many services.
Yeah, there's too much.
There's a lot. Ufizi too, as an additional simplification layer, but focused mostly on the development teams. So really giving them a simple interface for Kubernetes and for their clusters.
Yeah.
Where you don't have to configure so much just to get a simple application deployed.
Gotcha. You should be
that configuration. I agree. Like anything that simplifies it is definitely better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and two, really around like not just solving it from a technical standpoint, but from an organizational standpoint. Rolling out bug fixes and features. We probably all use some version of ticketing or version control and tracking, whether it be just simple GitHub issues or something like Jira or GitLab. Just tracking all the moving bits and what code fixes are coming down the pike can be difficult. And so, we hope that Ufizi and the new things that we're adding to it will kind of aid in that development velocity and be able to track, where a certain issue is and its status. All right, so jumping back in, and I'll maybe wrap up showing what I was going through here, and maybe even give you guys a preview of some of what we're thinking about with the new version or with the new iteration of Ufizi. So develop, preview. This is kind of what I've already highlighted. The two extra steps that we're looking to add is around the full pipeline. So staging, so being able to take those previews or those new features that you've added and stage them and getting closer to production. We want to support existing continuous integration solutions. So a lot of companies use Jenkins or Circle CI or GitLab or maybe some other continuous integration tool. And for those unacquainted, that's just really a way of being able to git push. Instead of having a release cycle that's maybe every 2 weeks or every month, really just being more able to continuously integrate and release new features. So, when a merge request happens, it generally kicks off a series of tests that are checking for everything from syntax to other integration tests. And at the end of that pipeline, there's generally some kind of built artifact. And in this case, we're talking largely around containers and Kubernetes. So mostly containers are built. And if you're on AWS, you're probably using something like ECR or Elastic Container Registry. And you'll be able to add that endpoint, that container registry to Ufizi. And in the same way that we sit there and watch for your GitHub repo and watch for new commits on it, we'll be able to set up a webhook on your ECR image and watch for updates to this image. So if your CI tool like Jenkins, for example, if it kicks off, builds a new image, pushes it to AWS, Ufizi is going to see that, and then it's going to trigger a continuous deployment function. And so you'll see, that container image being deployed at, again, a unique URL like staging.exampleapp.com, and you'll see that feature. And so you'll be able to track that feature from the preview step to a staging step. And then in addition, be able to alert other team members to maybe review that. A QA team, for example, maybe an engineering lead or a product manager, maybe it's ready for them to review, and they can give you a thumbs up or feedback on that feature. So really making it easy to deploy things without a lot of configuration and having shareable links that can be passed around within your organization. And then the final step is this promote step, which is taking that staging image. And if everybody on your team is bought off on it and it looks good to go, having a really simple method for manually promoting that production. And so that would look just like, hey, take this image, click a button, and Ufizi is going to grab that image and then move it over to wherever you specified. To Josh's point, if you've got a develop and a staging and production cluster or 2 different environments, Ufizi will take it from that staging environment and push it to your production environment. Again, we're doing that in a 0 downtime fashion. So that means, the version of your application that your customers are seeing is going to remain up. So there's no downtime there until that new version is healthy, at which point Ufizi swaps them out. And your customers are none the wiser, that web application or that website is still, live and running and has been updated though, seamlessly. So that's kind of the pipeline workflow that we're really moving towards with our new product that we're really excited to be working on. With that said, I can dig into some. Josh, do you want me to dig into some of those designs?
Yeah, maybe Damien and Rob, if you guys want to give us some feedback or have questions, maybe now's a good time. We have some designs that may be interesting to you guys, but we've kind of shown you the gist of it. So love to hear your questions or feedback.
Well, everything looks great. Actually, it looks probably a little more user-friendly from the first time I used it, as far as from my perspective.
Right on.
So the first, when does version 2 or whatever you're calling this new version come out? Is that obviously you can't.
Yes. So we'll have a beta version out basically the first week of April. And
will that be multi-cloud, or is it you're going to start with one provider and then work your way to others?
So the first version will be, it's going to be single cluster. It'll be multi-cloud in the sense that you could run it on AWS or GCP or Azure or on-prem, but you wouldn't be able to run multiple clusters on our first iteration of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, right. What I was sort of thinking was, if I'm going to start up an RDS instance, which cloud do I need to use to be closest to the containers?
So in that scenario, so you guys have mentioned you're on AWS, so you would want to stand up EKS. So that's the Amazon Kubernetes supported infrastructure, and then you would install Ufizi on top of that, and then naturally, typically you want to choose databases and other things that are in the same zone, right? So keeping it all in AWS house, if you will.
Yeah, we should note that Ufizi right now is Kubernetes intended for Kubernetes installation, so that would be a prerequisite. I will show kind of architecturally how it would work. So the idea is that if you have a cluster running like EKS, as Josh mentioned, you're just installing this Ufizi cluster agent that we call our controller, and this would just be a free download that would then be deployed as a pod onto your cluster, and it would work the same way. It would run in your cluster the same way that all your other workloads would as well, but it would phone home back to a web application, which is ufizi.com or app.ufizi.com, where you would be able to do everything that I was showing earlier about pulling in from GitHub and deploying. The difference is instead of deploying to a cloud that we control, you're deploying to your company's own cloud and your own other resources. And so to Josh's point, within your cloud environment, you've got RDS, you've got whatever. And then within Ufizi, you're able to connect to those different resources like RDS and S3 and whatever.
So for organizations who are not currently on Kubernetes, when do you see the point where the organization, especially smaller organizations, see the most value? When does the value proposition for Kubernetes really make sense?
Yeah, that's a good question. you know, and Adam may have some insights here on this as well, because he's been on a lot of our Kubernetes maintenance, you know, side, and may have more insights than I can share. But I will say, I think it comes around, you know, a lot of folks are moving towards containers, but you know, and Docker, of course, being like the kind of the big runtime for that.
Standard. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's more than just like deploying a container, because like there's a life cycle involved. So it's like, you know, when you as an organization want to be doing more than just like, oh, I'm going to deploy this container and it's just going to run and we're not going to touch it. You know, if your release cycle is once a month and there's no like drive to be improving that speed, then, you know, Kubernetes may not be a good choice. But really what we've seen is it's been adopted by a lot of organizations who just like need to move faster, you know, and it's like, hey, it's taking us too long to roll out updates, or we're having trouble with scalability, or we're having trouble with reliability. And so it's really, I think, around getting more agile and getting more lean, and just trying to like move faster, and doing that in a way, move faster without moving like recklessly, you know.
Right.
And so I think it's Kubernetes, along with tools, you know, I think like Ufizi and others, can be like a good pairing for implementing a more, I guess, dynamic development environment.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and Rob, we do consulting on the side. So if your organization is looking to go to K8s, please hit us up. We'd be happy to help with that.
You know, it's funny because I work for a small enough organization that we just have so much on our plate that I'm not sure that that's on the immediate, you know, in the immediate future.
Sure.
But I will say there's definitely an impedance mismatch between engineering and the boss in terms of how quickly stuff gets out. Because, I mean, I would say it's, you know, decent in terms of speed, but I'm sure he's not exactly the happiest with it. he wants it done as soon as it's thought in his brain. So, and that's
Sure.
just not possible.
It's always like that, right? Yeah.
Yeah. What's the nature of a lot of the, you know, your development efforts? I mean, is it new features adding, or is it bug fixing? Is it like, you know, fixing issues related to performance? Or maybe you can share a bit more about like what you guys are focused on.
I would say the majority is new feature development, but we do have our fair share of bug fixes. They tend to be smaller, and it's time consuming to find the bug and then fix it, but it's not, from a code standpoint, not a lot of code. It's just, you know, so I don't know the actual split, but I would say we're like 20 or 30% bug fixes, and then the rest is features.
Mm-hmm.
Rob, what's your stack? How's your what languages are you guys using?
Right now we're using PHP with CodeIgniter. We've talked about other languages, and we've talked about moving to Laravel or something like that. But like I said, we're just right now trying to keep up with the demand, which is funny because it's been a roller coaster. The last year with, you know, events and COVID, it's, you know, been nothing, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, a bunch of things, you know, need new features that we don't have, and so it's like the typical startup.
Gotcha. And are you guys on RDS, or what type of data store are you guys using, or database?
We are using RDS, yeah, with
Gotcha.
MySQL, yeah.
Mm.
And you guys have any, like, is there any front end component to your app, or is it all PHP?
Not like front end is in React, not
Yeah,
currently.
like, are you using like a mixed stack?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
not currently. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's funny because like from an engineering standpoint, we would definitely like to go in that direction. It's just the amount of work that would be involved to kind of re-implement everything is, you know, overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely would like to upscale the whole engineering department. I don't think we're at a bandwidth and revenue standpoint that makes sense right this second, but
Yeah.
Always interested in hearing options.
Yeah, Rob, how many engineers do you guys have?
Depends on how you count. I would say 3 or 4, depending on how you count. Like I said, we had contractors and full-time, and you know, it's a fluctuating thing.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I looked at your sales website, or at least the published one, and you don't have a way to sign up currently. You're just, is that like a trial thing or?
Yeah, we're just doing request demos right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if we're at the point to actually use something like Ufizi, but like I said, it's interesting to hear what direction people are going and what's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Definitely. Well, as you guys are, if you consider, upgrade to infrastructure, feel free to reach out. We'd be happy to talk to you about the options. And if you do think Kubernetes is a good option for you, of course, we'd be happy to get you set up.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the majority of what I wanted to show. I appreciate you guys listening and giving us some good feedback.
Yeah.
Han's been quiet, but
I think he dropped off when we
he dropped
switched.
off? Okay.
I don't know if
Twice
he
quiet.
got the link or not, but yeah, I appreciate you guys coming and demonstrating. Sean had a last minute family thing come up, so he couldn't be here. So
No worries.
which committed me to being here, even though I was going to be here anyways. But
Yeah, Damien.
Yeah.
Or Rob, could you guys? Is there any other folks in the BoroDev? I know that I think Bradley Gore and Aaron Miller were using, or like their companies use K8s. But is there anyone you can link us up with who might be interested in seeing this? Who they don't necessarily have to be on K8s, but if they are, that's a bonus.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know per se. Rob, do you?
I was gonna say I can ask around, but I don't know off the top of my head like who is using Kubernetes and who isn't. So
yeah, right on.
Yeah.
But I can certainly ask around and see.
I think, well, supposedly this was recorded, so we're gonna, I believe, put it on our YouTube channel.
Oh, awesome. Okay,
So,
cool.
once that gets up there, I'll share that, and I'll have to splice the two videos together. But most of the good stuff is on the first, but all the the nice questions are mostly on this one. So
It's all good stuff.
yeah, we'll have to merge them together though. So
Yeah, I'll let you worry about that editing. Editing is not my forte.
oh yeah, it's fine. I can do it.
How long have you guys been in business? Like, what's this background behind Ufizi?
Yes, we're coming up on 3 years.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we started in what probably is called like edge computing now, and we've kind of evolved into where we are on an app platform. So yeah, but we've been pretty in the weeds in the Nashville community and reaching out to the you said Smyrna, is that where you were, Rob?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, kind of reaching out more here recently.
So was this one of those like you were using AWS or GCP and configuring container clusters or Kubernetes or whatever, and decided that the whole process was too laborious?
Sort of. We've been kind of more low level, like you would say, from a Kubernetes standpoint. And a couple of years ago, we kind of saw the realization that like, hey, there's so much complexity around Kubernetes that we need to move sort of up stack and to like a higher level abstraction, and instead of dealing with like these kind of fine-grained components and configuration files, operate like a developer would operate with GitHub and your IDE, your code editor or whatever, and really abstract and hide a lot of the Kubernetes implementation under the hood. And so that's kind of was our sort of North Star, and that's kind of where we've been going ever since.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, very cool. I'm excited about it. Hopefully I'll get more on that side of things. Stuck on the front end right now. So
Yeah, well, there's too much out there to learn for everybody to be an expert on everything. So
right, yeah.
Sometimes you just let other people be experts on certain things, and then keeping your focus more narrow sometimes is better.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Do you have a specific size organization that sort of fits your profile the best?
That's a good question. You know, I think, you know, small to medium sized businesses is what, you know, we've been really targeting, looking to help. And because I think they tend to be the ones who are, you know, agile enough to be able to make, you know, to incorporate new tools and maybe new, to your point, maybe like looking for new solutions that may help them out. You know, we found that size not necessarily as much as, you know, well, to your point, you guys may have a bandwidth limitation, you know, just not being able to do enough, but we really are trying to acknowledge that, hey, if we can, you know, the installation is a simple process. And so installation and you're like up and running in just like you know, a few minutes. And so you don't need like a big team to set up Ufizi. So that's why we like, you know, small and medium sized businesses, I think, are the right size for us.
Yeah.
Got it.
Cool. Well, did you have anything else to share?
I don't. I can actually stop sharing my screen so I can.
Or Josh?
I think that's it, guys. We appreciate you guys tuning in.
Yeah, I'm glad we finally got to have this meeting.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll do them in person soon.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, exactly. Yeah, hopefully. Well, I guess on that note, we'll thank Vaco or Spinman from Vaco again for sponsoring. And y'all have a good till next time.
Yeah. Great to see you, Damien.
Good
Good
to
to
see you on the web. Yeah, you too, Josh. Grayson.
All right, see you guys.
And Adam, nice to meet you too.
Yes, thank you.
All right. We'll see you guys soon.